From this moment on, you will now be known as Sharkbait. Sharkbait, ooh-ha-ha! Welcome, brother Sharkbait. Sharkbait, ooh-ha-ha!
On the first day, God created night and day. On the second day, God separated the heavens and the earth. On the third day, God created land, sea, and vegetation. On the fourth day, God created the sun, moon, and stars. On the fifth day, God created the birds and the fish. On the sixth day, God created animals. Then he created the first man, Adam, from the dust of the earth. Adam was the very likeness of God. When God saw that Adam needed a helper in the Garden of Eden, he created the first woman, Eve, from Adam's rib. On the seventh day, God was pleased with his work, so he rested. God gave the man and woman the task of caring for his creation. He told them they could eat from anywhere in the garden except for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But one day the serpent tempted Eve into eating from the tree. She shared the fruit with her husband, and they became aware that they were naked. At this moment, sin entered the world. As the years went on, the world became more and more corrupted with sin. God chose the only man he found righteous, Noah, to build an ark. Noah's family and 2 of each type of animal lived on the ark for 40 days and 40 nights, while God destroyed the earth with a flood.
Bonjour. Hola.
Hello.
The era of the patriarchs began with Abraham, and the Lord said to him, "Go from your country to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation." So in an act of obedience, Abraham left. But Abraham took matters into his own hands. He had Ishmael outside of God's promise. But Isaac was the real fulfillment. God then tested Abraham by commanding him to kill his promised son, and Abraham obeyed. But God had a different plan. Isaac's son Jacob then wrestled with the man of God for the blessing he stole from Esau. Jacob fathered the 12 tribes of Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. The brothers banded together and sold their father's favorite, Joseph, into slavery. When the famine came, Jacob's son had to travel to Egypt to get food, but they found their brother there instead.
After 3 months, Moses' mom set Moses in a basket in the riverbank. When coming to bathe in the river, the Pharaoh's daughter found the child and gave him to a servant woman to find a Hebrew woman to take care of him. One day Moses saw an Egyptian mistreating an Israelite and killed them, then fled. One day, while Moses was watching over the flock of sheep, God came to him from a bush that appeared to be burning, but wasn't. And there God talked to him about the plans God had for him to rescue his people. And then there were the plagues onto the Egyptians. Water was turned into blood. The second plague, frogs. The third plague, gnats. The fourth plague, flies. The fifth plague, death of livestock. The sixth plague, boils. The seventh plague, hail. The eighth plague, locust. The ninth plague, darkness. The 10th plague, death. God parted the Red Sea for the Israelites to escape. God gave Moses the 10 Commandments. Because of the Israelites' lack of faith in God, God sentenced them to 40 years of wandering in the wilderness.
Joshua was commanded by the Lord to walk around the walls of Jericho with the people of Israel once a day for 6 days, and on the 7th day they blew horns and shouted, and the walls of the city fell. The Israelites demanded a king, so God gave them Saul. Saul did not follow God's commands and was rejected. David was a man after God's own heart. David was anointed as a boy and became the next king after Saul. David wrote psalms praising the Lord and expressing his struggles. David's son Solomon became king. The Lord told Solomon he would give him whatever he asked for. Solomon asked for wisdom and became the wisest man on earth. Solomon had a bit of a problem with women and had 700 wives and 300 concubines, and in the end was drawn away from God by their influence. The nation of Israel became divided in half, Israel to the north and Judah to the south.
Silence! When you first came here, you asked for judgment. And I pass it now. Exile!
No!
Cyrus issued a decree that the Jews could return to the Promised Land. The Jews returned to the Promised Land and celebrated. Ezra was in charge of overseeing the rebuilding of the temple that replaced Solomon's temple. The temple did not compare to the first temple, and the elders of the town cried in mourning of the sight of it. Nehemiah was placed in charge of rebuilding the city walls. It took 52 days to accomplish.
Grace, what have you done? Murdered for me on that cross, accused absent sorrow. My sin washed away in your blood. Too much to make sense of it all. I know that your love breaks my fall. The scandal of grace, you died in my place, so my soul will live. Oh, to be like you, give all I have just to know you. Jesus, there's no one beside you. Forever the hope in my heart. Death, where is your sting? Your power is as dead as my sin. The cross has taught me to live, and mercy my heart now to sing. The day and its troubles shall come. I know that your strength is enough. The scandal of grace, you died in my place, so my soul will live. Oh, to be like you.
Guys, do you guys know Jesus?
Yeah, he's so great.
You got the